Activate Your Destiny podcast. I am your host, Destiny Faith McCoy. We are doing today's episode live because I recorded today's episode and it will not upload. So, because we will not be skipping episodes of the Activate Your Destiny podcast, they drop every Wednesday. We are just going to do the episode live. Okay. All right. So, today we are talking about rest. Yeah. The word that we don't typically like to talk about, rest. How many types of rest do you think exist? How many types of rest do you exist? Do you think that exists? I personally had forgotten that there are actually 7 different types of rest. And if you're watching this live or if you watched the replay, I want you to drop one word in the comments describing how you've been feeling. Do you need rest? Is rest something that you've been doing too much of? You can actually be resting so much that it still stresses you out because you're actually supposed to be doing other things. But that's another topic for another day. But I would love for you guys to let me know, how are you feeling in one word? In one word. Okay. As a ambitious mom, as a mom who knows that I am called to multiple things, multiple assignments, and I am sure so many of you all are as well, it is extremely annoying to constantly be told that I need to rest. Now, don't get me wrong. When you are surrounded by people who love you, who are called to support you in your assignment, we sometimes do need the reminder. However, in today's conversation, we are going to talk more about defining what rest means for you in this particular season, not only going off of what everybody tells us that rest should look like. It doesn't always look like a nap. Sometimes it can. Sometimes you actually need to rest in another way. So there are, again, like I said, 7 different types of rest. There is a book by Dr. Saundra Dalton-Smith called Sacred Rest, and she breaks down these 7 types. And it's worth checking out. So I'm going to put her information in the description below so that you can add it to your collection of books that you would like to read. But the 7 types are physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, social, sensory, and creative. So, since I don't have the book with me right at this moment, we are going to quickly go to Google and talk about these 7 types of rest. And as I am talking, I want you to listen and figure out which one actually sounds like something that you need in this particular season of your life. The important part of defining rest is looking at where you are right now in this particular season. For me personally, I have learned that I have to reassess each season. Good morning. I have to reassess in each season what different things are going to look like, what my schedule is going to look like, what rest is going to look like. And I cannot expect what rest looked like for me in last season to work this season. So we're going to go through these 7 types and we're going to figure out which ones we actually need. And then, of course, I'm going to give you guys an assignment at the end. So the first one is, thank you. The first one is physical. Physical rest can be passive, like sleeping, or active, such as stretching, getting a massage, a facial, the things that we love to do. And this helps you heal muscles and relieve tension. Now, for me personally, tension is something that my body definitely holds on to in my neck and my shoulders. Tension headaches and migraines is an issue for me specifically. I have to be way more intentional about the physical rest that I am getting so that my body learns to calm down. The next type of rest is mental, stepping away from constant cognitive tasks or decision making. Stepping away from constant cognitive task or decision making. That sounds like motherhood in a nutshell, right? We're constantly making decisions. What are we eating for dinner? What do I have to take this kid or that kid? What are we doing for school as a homeschooling mom? What are all these things that I have to decide the moment that I wake up? If you feel foggy or you're struggling to focus, sometimes this type of rest is what you need. The next type is sensory, unplugging from bright screens, loud background noises, and chaotic environments that overstimulate your senses. Sensory overload. As a mom, this is something else that we are constantly surrounded by: the tablets, the singing, the humming, the songs, the overstimulated shows that they love to watch. There is a such thing as needing sensory rest. Emotional, giving yourself the time and space to freely express your feelings and taking a break from people pleasing. Mm. It sounds like we need all of these so far, right? Emotional rest, taking a break from people pleasing, no longer allowing everybody else's wants and desires to take up your entire capacity, is allowing yourself to rest. Ironically, that is also considered rest. Social rest is differentiating between relationships that revive you and those that drain you, and choosing to spend time with supportive people. So remember how I kept saying that you have to define rest for what you need in this particular season? Sometimes hanging out with your homegirls is a version of rest. Those people that you know are going to pour into you and not only need you and just want to be in your presence and want to know what's going on with you, but the ones that you're pouring into them and they're pouring into you, and you can get that belly laugh that you need and enjoy some good food or a movie or a shopping trip or even running errands together, can be a form of rest. The next one is spiritual, and probably the most important one is making sure that we are resting spiritually. Spiritual rest is defined as the ability to connect beyond the physical, often found through prayer, worship, or community involvement, to feel a deep sense of purpose. At the end of the day, I also need to make sure that I am resting enough to hear from God, resting enough to understand what His plans for me are, not just in the future, but from day to day, from moment to moment. The Bible says, "Give us this day our daily bread." I need God to pour into me every single day, and that is considered rest. Fellowshipping with other believers is considered rest. As long as you're not stepping over boundaries, people pleasing, and all the other things that we talked about, that can be considered a part of rest. And the last one is creative rest, reawakening a sense of awe and wonder by stepping out into nature or surrounding yourself with beautiful, inspiring art. And I'll even take it a step further. If you are a writer and you love to write, that is how you express yourself, that could be creative rest. You love to draw, you love to paint, you are writing music, you're creating music, you are working out, whatever way you express yourself, doing your hair, your nails, the ways that God has made you creative can still be considered rest. All of these things are pouring back into ourselves, and all of these things are necessary. So, which one of these do you actually need right now? In this moment, in this season of your life, as we are going into the summer months, the kids are going to be out of school, all of the sports are beginning, the trips, and all the things. You have to define what rest is going to look like for you. I have to define what rest is going to look like for me as I am creating our summer schedule, as I am desiring for, the kids to be in different activities and having different play dates. But I'm also desiring for more for my business, which requires me to show up more. It requires me to do things like this. And instead of skipping today's episode, going live, hopefully before the kids get up. It requires me to do different things. So I have to be way more intentional about what my rest looks like, not what everybody tells me that my rest looks like. I was scrolling on Instagram one day briefly, and I came across this video where Haley Melinda, love her. Haley Melinda was talking on a podcast. I'm going to put the link in the description because I can't remember right now whose podcast it was on. But she was talking about how people who don't understand your assignment default to the physical definition of rest. Oh, you're doing too much. Oh, you need to go sit down. Oh, you need to take a nap. That's all that they default to. But the called mom, such as yourself, may not need a mental or creative rest. She may need another type of rest. She may need something else, and we're only putting her in this box of, if you're not resting this way or if it doesn't look like this, then we don't recognize it. And I love that the guy that she was talking to was like, yeah, you were doing too much at a certain point in your life. However, that too much has gotten you to the exceedingly and abundantly that you knew that you were called to. So she was able to find her rest in other areas, but creatively, she still had to speak. She's a phenomenal speaker, a world known speaker. So maybe creative rest was her showing up in the way that God had naturally created her. But maybe she took a nap on the plane. Maybe she grabbed her favorite drink on the way to where she had to speak at. That rest was going to look different from her for her in her current assignment, but she was still resting the way that she needed in that moment. Of course, in every episode, we try to connect what we're talking about to the Bible. And we're going to pull up Psalms 62, 1 through 2, really quickly. I had it open. Yeah. So Psalm 62, 1 through 2 says, truly my soul finds rest in God. My salvation comes from him. Truly, he is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress. I will never be shaken. My soul can find rest in God alone, that spiritual rest, resting in knowing that I'm only focusing on what He has told me to focus on, my family, my husband, my children, my assignment. But then outside of that, I find moments to pour back into myself. So, your challenge today is to figure out which of the 7 steps you actually need. Take 15 minutes when you're looking at that schedule while the kids are having breakfast or whatever your morning routine looks like. Find 15 minutes today and every day for the rest of this week to ask yourself these questions. What type of rest am I actually missing? What does my body or my mind need today specifically? And am I resting or am I avoiding something that he is calling me to do? Again, what type of rest am I actually missing? What does my body or mind need today specifically? And am I resting or am I avoiding something? Pull up your schedule, find 15 minutes in it, and assign it to the rest that you actually need today. And then do it again tomorrow and again the day after that, and do it for the rest of the week. Okay? Doing it live wasn't so bad. I hope that this episode was a blessing to you, that you are reminded not to put yourself in a box, even when it comes to the rest that you need. Figure out what you need. Out of all those 7, there's something that will help you feel better today, that will push you through all the things that's on your list today. Because sometimes we can't remove anything off the schedule. That's just, it is what it is. Okay. I don't know where we left off at, Okay, I don't know where we left off at, but that is the end of our episode. I had an alarm go off, and I'm convinced that they needs to hear this message today. If you are that somebody, let me know in the comments. If you are listening to this on Apple Podcasts, let me know, because I have found that the more difficulty I go through to get these episodes out, there's always somebody that's like, I really needed that reminder. And that gives me a little bit more push and motivation to keep pushing through all of this. So, you know what? Even if you heard the pause, if you heard me saying, you got to be kidding me, that's because for the last hour, I've been trying to get through this episode. But the episode is done. Remember that the calling on your life is not canceled. It is just waiting on your obedience. I will see you guys for another episode of the Activate Your Destiny podcast next week. See ya.